Hi, everybody. I want to welcome you to our Resident Family Support Council meeting that we have on the second and the fourth Tuesday of every month. As a reminder, the purpose to these meetings is to empower people with information. We identified that, the aging path is a very difficult path sometimes to and we know that having support and knowing about all the services and everything that's out there can really, really be important for all of us in order to be able to do this well for either ourselves or someone that we care about. A couple of things before we go ahead and begin the meeting. I want to remind everybody we also recognize that people cannot always make a meeting at 3 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. So we record these and we put them onto YouTube. I can already see that Stephen is putting the links into the chat so that you can make sure that you copy those so that you can access these meetings if you can never make it. I always get people contacting me before the meeting, after the meeting, saying, I wish I could be there. I really want to be a part of this, but I can't. So I always send them the YouTube information as well. So do that. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with people that you know. There's a lot of really great information on there. And I think if you take some time perusing it, you'll see that there's some information that could really help you navigate this difficult path that can be as we're aging. I want to let you know that we have, I think right now we're at 97 videos. We're almost at our 100 mark. We're creeping up to 100 videos on YouTube. So do make sure that you check that out. There's a variety of different topics. The other thing that we also have is Facebook. I know that Stephen has put that link in there as well. So make sure that you access our Facebook page because that's where you'll find the topics. But if you also just want to get invited to these meetings and not have to go to Facebook, you can always send me an email, Stephen, if you want to put my email in the chat. And if I get a chance to do it myself, I will do that. That way, then you can just ask me, and then you can get the emails directly into your own email, so that you can just connect through the meetings right through that. Thank you, Stephen. I see you just did that for us. He's wonderful working that background for us all the time. So just to let you know, a couple of things. Like I said, the purpose of these meetings is to empower people with information. And so we do have some really exciting meetings coming up. The next meeting that we will be having on the 24th. I will be interviewing a family who has a son in long-term care and her perspective and the work that she's done as an advocate to make sure that her son has the life that he deserves to have. So he doesn't miss out on anything in his world just because he's in long-term care. So I will be interviewing her. I'm actually going to be going into, we're going to be interviewing in her son's room. So I'm hoping he's joining us for that conversation as well. At this point, he wants to be a part of it. So we're hoping that he wants to continue to be a part of the meeting with us. So that'll be a really exciting that will be on the 24th of March. And then in April, put it on your calendars. We're going to be having some conversations about legislation that affects aging in Illinois. That's going to be a really important conversation. There will be opportunities for you to be able to support that legislation, find out what's going on, be that informed consumer in Illinois. It's an important thing to know what's happening legislatively. And it's been amazing that we've had a lot of different things that have really helped us navigate this aging network better. And with that being said, there couldn't be a better person to have a part of us conversation today. We have Lori Hendren here from AARP. She does a lot of work around legislation for AARP, and she is so kindly joining us today to share with us about all the amazing stuff that AARP has out there to also help us with this aging path here. Lori, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, and thank you for everyone for inviting me. We're getting to do this meeting before the storms come. I'm in Springfield. Lori Hendren. I'm a Senior Associate State Director with AARP. I work with your legislative team all the time, the State Ombudsman with Jessica and your official State Ombudsman Kelly a lot. So, and the legislative front. So I really appreciate having this opportunity. So I think what I'll do today is a lot of the individuals I'm sure is on here today is what resources are available from AARP for us. And I want to go through, we actually did kind of revamp and we're still revamping our website to truly echo the needs of family caregivers in the state and nationally. I mean, we have several buckets. One is advocacy that I'll talk about, but I want to talk about resources and information, and then we'll transition to advocacy. And then also we'll talk about AARP in Illinois is 1.7 million members, and we are represented in the state house, but also in Chicago, Peoria, Springfield, Metro East, and then in Lockport. And so we have a lot. So that's where a lot of our in-person offering is offered. And then also we have a very strong, robust virtual offerings. And I will show you how you can get to all of those. About 99.9% of the time, they're open to everybody. We just ask for registration. But
Lori, and I know I shared with you while we were talking about having this conversation happen for this meeting, that I'm a member of AARP myself,
yes.
and I really look forward to getting the magazine and getting the state magazine well, because I learned so much through there, just a matter of resources, and sometimes it's even just, some of the online class things that they have, and I keep
Mhm.
thinking, when I retire, I'm going to partake in some of this stuff more.
Yeah, there's
But
a
it
lot.
is,
I mean,
there
I'm in the
is.
Peoria area. We probably have, I would say, 30 to 50 in-person events that are going to be happening over the course of this year, from cooking demonstrations to education and tech, and from free movies like the movie Wicked we're going to be streaming, and I think I'm going to do the new. Oh, there's a couple. I want to do the new Star Wars one. So there's a lot of opportunities, and for rest, definitely for caregivers to have a little moment of respite for themselves, to be
Yeah.
able to move forward. So what you all are seeing right now, and I will put this in the chat if anyone wants to follow along. This is if you literally Google, and I'm a big fan of just Googling it,
Mhm.
AARP caregiving. But what we have is on our site, we have an abundance of information, but it's also very helpful to be able to drill down in it. I mean, obviously, we have our national conversations with celebrities, but there are a lot of events and resources that are here that is very helpful. And I just want to kind of go through some of these. One is if you go to local resources, this is something we have done recently. We break it out here, but also if you go down, this is why I'm kind of showing you this. The Family Caregiving State Resource Guide, again, you have to have patience because you click through it and then you can pick your state. And this is something you can share with it's just very easy to share. It's going to go through, and we check these every year, the links to services and phone numbers. So it's a quick guide. I don't know why we still have ads because I see this ad all the time and it makes me laugh. I should have a 30-day workout plan, but it's still there. But anyway, so this is something that's, if you're sharing something as a one-stop shop, this is a very helpful resource that is there. And then this goes in further. Now, ARP 2 years ago, we advocated for the caregiver portal through the Department of Aging, which actually got enacted in law. And the department is doing a tremendous job on developing that and rolling that in with their multi-sector plan on aging. So that is going to be an upcoming resource that ARP is really proud that we advocated for. And the department has just done a tremendous job of taking the energy behind it and making that happen.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
we all recognize the need for that caregiver support right now because there's so many people that are in this role and even recognize that they are in that role.
uh-huh.
And all of a sudden, through all the work that we're trying to do here, making people aware, yes, you are a caregiver. You are
Yeah.
caring for your loved one, and it's important to recognize that and to take care of yourself and to utilize the resources. So this is appreciative.
Absolutely. So, as you go through, we always get a lot of questions on, would you recommend a nursing home? ARP cannot recognize a nursing home or endorse a nursing home, but what we can do is educate you on the resources that are out there. So there are, we have, I know it sounds silly, but you can be able to go through some of this information. Like Illinois gives state, we have online tools for that, but the differencing between nursing homes, CMS, and the different information there. So again, more info that is kind of very helpful as you go through.
Mhm.
One thing that we did last year, which I think is great, if you ever go to our YouTube channel, we have on contract with us Steve Anderson. He is an elder law attorney, former state representative, and a former Human Rights Commission officer. And we did a monthly on like 30-minute power session on elder law, estates, guardianship, all of these. Guardianship is such a powerful issue, and really breaking that down and helping people understand where you at, if whether you're a caregiver in that point or you yourself and understanding. So if you ever go to AARP YouTube, AARP Illinois YouTube, you will see a whole season of that is really worth um, listening to and sharing if people have these questions. A lot of times people don't have these questions until it's past the point and you're kind of in panic, or you're right at the cusp, or you're starting to look, putting your mom, in assisted living. What do I do? And spend down all of these things. These are all
Mhm.
caregiver questions. So that's a free that is out there, the AARP Illinois YouTube channel, along with all of our other virtual events that is available. But under our financial and legal, again, it's just more money management and, you know, well, caregiver contracts, all of these things that might be readily available for you. And then in our new website, this will start popping up in the bottom. These are all different events that may be of interest for you, that may be
Mm.
online, that they're really AI generated based on your interest. And then we'll go into that a little bit further. And then always we have our information. If you go further, the legal documents and records, which I always think this is really interesting, is having this like the directive, the end of life documents, the creating a livable will, healthcare power of attorney, some of the stuff you might look everywhere. It's all right here. And all you have to do is just click on it, and then you can be able to, we'll jump off, but it will take you there. And I know AARP regularly um, make sure these are active, these are accurate, and like has information for you. So again, it's another resource. If people are saying, can you guys put anything on our website that is helpful? Yeah, you can always use ours and link it. Another one is a financial workbook for caregivers. This is a printable guide, which is really great. When you go through it, it kind of goes through all kind of the high level issues of health, housing, and money management. As you start going through those conversations, that can be a little tough, and this is printable. I'm just going to scroll through it pretty fast, but it is really, you can type it in or write it in. It's downloadable, but then you can have that and share that with the loved ones, or as a family caregiver, just have that readily available. Um, Even if it's, by your healthcare team or family, or just making sure it's available. So it's just something that, Etsy, I love Etsy. I use it all the time, but there's a lot of things in there you got to pay for. If you just take a moment and dive in here, you're going to find a lot of those resources that are there for you and in different languages. And also we have one that is specifically made for military families and veterans, because they're unique, their benefits are unique.
Mhm.
Um, I think this is one of our best services, is just having this,
Yeah,
and this
I
is
mean, I'm just thinking
completely
right here
free.
because I get that we get that question a lot. As a matter of fact, I was on the phone with the doctor today that
Yeah.
was calling for about for,
Oh, you just stopped, but yes. So these
on,
are,
and it was just this is a great resource for something like this.
yeah.
I love
And
it.
then there's more of like, pieces of understanding what all this stuff means,
Hmm.
and when to use it. What's a healthcare power of attorney, living will? Again, we have the videos on it, but this is just more information for you to have. I mean, it's just one of those things to go through if you can, and if you have the time to do it, just to sit down and look. Medical, again, compression, just kind of compression talk, so normal ads and discussions, but more benefits, more information that might be helpful for individuals or caregivers at that point. I like this one. Some things you don't really think about until you're actively looking for it, regarding communication and how to ensure you're communicating the best way um, with your medical team, because we know that caregivers are the primary communicators of their loved ones' needs and absorbers of such information. And
Hmm.
here, a little bit more relatable, more understandable, so you're not alone. Let me see this one real quick. Oh, see, here we go. This is one of our caregiving guides. Let me see. Then it goes back to this. So a lot of resources. I put this one in the chat. It's just just going through, clicking through it, seeing what is helpful for you. Is this our care? We have let's see which one. Yeah, care for the caregiver. This is a great one that is for the physical, mental, emotional, all around support of the caregiver. that you can have and download free of charge. I mean, it's just a resource to help you and or your loved one on the journey. And that is, and I will actually send this one. I will post this one in the chat for everyone. Hold on a second.
That will be
I'm used to,
great.
yeah,
Thank
I'm
you.
used to digging around in there, so I kind of know what's in there. And then we even like, we even get it. We even have like talking cards if it's, if it's a challenge on how to have these conversations, we have videos and talking cards and on how to be able to have these conversations. Um, all of these things, another great resource to be able to just kind of go through, see if it's something that would be helpful for you in your journey or having those tough conversations, and connecting. And this lady right here is one of our researchers. She's brilliant at the work she does. Again, just talking, communicating. I'm going to put this one in there. So as you go through your journey is being able to, you can launch this video if you're sitting quiet and seeing what she says and how to get started in those conversations. There's a lot of tried and true resources that AARP has. Uh, and then, yeah, this is another one. I mean, gosh, we do have a lot, but these are the benefits for them. Like this is for the members who are benefits, but the caregiving guides, resource guides, family caregiving support. And then we also have an online community for people to join. There is all of this right here, popular topics and people that you can reach out to and more resources. So the AARP website is certainly worthy of your time if you can go through and take a look at it, because there's an abundance of information. And like I said, this is the Illinois. All right, I'll put this in there too for the Illinois version. This is just the resources. I'm gonna, hold on one second. I gotta move this around. I have a lot open. So another element of something AARP is obviously very proud to do is we're advocacy on caregiving, being able to advocate for a tax credit. We call it for the credit for caring at the federal level. We call it the caregiver tax credit at the Illinois state level, both advocating and pushing for those for the financial support. And we have a tremendous amount of data that backs up the need for that. And I'll go through that in a little bit. But a lot of times in the day-to-day business of life, lawmakers don't truly understand the plight and the hard work and the financial, emotional, and physical contribution that caregivers make. And we're proud to make that part of our story and to advocate for that. It's just one of the many bills that we work on. So one of the things you may often see is like here, this is a bill for our credit for caring at the federal level. If you want to have your voice raised and be part of it, you can be able to sign up and have an email sent to your lawmaker on an advocacy issue. And this is to support family caregivers. We know caregivers spend about an average $7,200 out of their own pocket every year for their caregiving costs of their loved ones, something that's typically not planned. And so, again, this is another way that AARP wants to make sure we're connecting with you where you are so you can have your voice heard on advocacy issues. In addition to the family caregiving tax credit, we do a lot of work, obviously, on Social Security, protecting that. We do work on guardianship. Illinois, right now, we are kind of working with various groups, but we have draft language on reforming trying to say this the right way, private guardianship, which is typically called corporate guardianship. And that is a lot of times, as many of you know, guardianship is the measure of last resort, but there are situations with someone's disability, it's at a point where they cannot make those decisions. And this should not be going lightly, that a loved one may take over as a guardian, or there is a public guardian of last resort. And in some situations, there are private guardians that are at a higher level. Well, right now, there's really not that much defining the protections or enumerating such protections for individuals or AKA respondent who would be the recipient of that guardianship. So AARP with the State Ombudsman's Office, with the Cook County Guardian, and various entities are working on language that not only strengthens, but puts accountability in there, protections for that individual who becomes the recipient of that guardianship, and standards of professionalism for that guardian. So that is going to be something that's very important that moves forward. This was something that came apart from a 3-part Chicago Tribune piece that started, I want to say, gosh, in December. And Representative Duder took on this with passion, and we have been working actively on that. So we look for that hopefully to be filed maybe later this week as we move forward. And that's going to be House Bill 3811.
That is
Um,
wonderful.
yes. So when we talk about Illinois, I think something that is really, I'm popping over to find the right one. So last year we came, our our data center did a specific survey on Illinois, identifying family caregivers, who they are, what they're doing, what's stressing them out, where their money is going. And this is something that and I'm happy to share with you is a survey, and our number is about 2.2 million are family caregivers. Those are not including your SEIU workers that are doing the work. These are primarily individuals that are family members. Now, some may be able to get some type of funding because this goes all the way down to someone who is 18. Home services programs allows that, but we're looking at average caregivers are about 49 years old, and majority of them are white and female, which probably a lot of you here aren't probably surprised. 71% are the females who identify, and 6 in 10 are still
Mm.
working. So these are, when you get into different situations, or if you are a family member, this may come as something that brings a little condolence to where you are and understanding. If you're a policy worker or you're a professional in the field, always use these numbers to be able to tell the story and why the need for X, Y, and Z is so critical. We identified who the family caregivers are, and how they're helping with so much more um, than they probably ever expected to do, to the, getting someone out of bed, to dealing with incontinence, medications, and feeding. These are all ADLs that you guys are familiar with this word, but these are a lot of the things they never anticipated, especially as your loved one continues to maybe gradually go down the aging spectrum. I'm fascinated by this. My personal Facebook, I follow this family. I think they're from the South, and this young man and his wife take care of his grandmother, and she has dementia, and she can only say one word over and over and over to tell how she feels. And it's fascinating because he shows where she was, 2 years before, spunky at a graduation, and then still spunky, but still only has one word. And it's kind of interesting to watch her family say, we never knew we would have to take on these responsibilities, but here we are. Uh,
Yeah. And we hear
so
that so many times from caregivers, don't
yeah,
we? I mean, it's just no one, and that's part of the issue is we don't think of what the future is going to look like because we don't understand. I mean, we don't know. It's completely unknown. And so when you have to step into this role, there's nothing more that you need than support and
yeah.
services.
So we say, well, a lot of times lawmakers will say, well, what are caregivers doing? And we're able to tell them 82% they're doing transportation all the way down to, giving medication 48% of their time. And 20% of the caregivers are still holding down at least 40 hours of work. So doing 40 hours of work plus taking care of someone else to all their ADLs is a pretty overwhelming. And there's no wonder you have a tremendous volume of stress. In addition to that is the financial component of this, where the financial drain is so great. I mean, a day to day in today's
Mhm.
economy, the finances are hard. There was an actor who said this great. He's like, I think the spectrum of life is very interesting. When you're raising your kids, you save money for college. And then when the kid goes to college, at the same time, your parent is starting to age. And all of a sudden, you're starting to balance the aging and the spending of money. You're spending down their money, and you're trying to save money, but you can't. And so you're spitting out money, one you never knew for your parents, spending money for college. In the end, you're just going into debt. And so by the time you're 55 or 60, all the wealth that you thought you had for retirement has now spent out because you had this unexpected cost that you never knew, didn't plan
Yeah.
for. No one told you when you were 20, hey, you need to they preach about savings, which is excellent for retirement, but they never say you have to plan to take care of your loved ones. That's a huge
Mhm.
cost. So when we go more about this data, is again, this is all knowledge that everyone is just reaffirms what you're doing. I always think the financial situation is overwhelming, that 32% stopped saving, 4% put off retirement. God, some 21% just didn't pay bills,
Wow.
16% hid in their long-term savings. So took out more debt, 21%. So, when people come in overwhelmed, absolutely. I mean, the numbers are
Mhm.
indicating that way, and it just confirms your story. So information needs for, family caregivers, this is where everyone's part of it, is telling our story, is what they're having to do and what they need where they are. Technology to safety at home. And then another one is this, again, more and more data. I love data. It tells us, how their physical health is. Are they emotionally stressed? And that again is at a point in time. And then this is the demographics of our family caregivers that we were able to have conversations with. So I'm
That's
happy to share this with you afterwards, Lee, and you can share this
yeah.
document with everyone. That's a little
Mhm.
bit bigger one. Years ago, well, several years ago, the only number in here that is relevant is the 21 billion. That is the economic contribution family caregivers in Illinois provide to the economy. They provide $21 billion of unpaid care. So anytime when we talk to lawmakers, they said, well, it's going to cost a lot. And say, yes, we do know the cost for these individuals is 21 billion that you're not carrying on your backs. They are doing it in addition to paying taxes. So when we ask
Mhm.
for a caregiver tax credit, it is because they are bearing a massive financial burden that the state is not having to bear. And that's a very powerful number to be able to share.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is really all important information because even as you're talking, Lori, I'm identifying, my mother is 92,
Mhm.
and I'm identifying with, I don't really feel like I'm her caregiver, but I do. I help her with her finances and I help her with transportation. And thank goodness my husband retired because we always tease he's driving Miss Daisy now.
Yeah.
He can pick up a lot of that. Otherwise, it does interfere. I mean, I take time off from work to be able to take my mom to doctor's appointments.
Yeah.
And those don't become less frequent as you're 92. They become more frequent as you're 92.
That's one of
Um,
the elements we talk about is identifying as a caregiver.
yeah.
Some cultural and family dynamics, recognize that's just what I do. They don't say that I am a caregiver, but they truly are. ARP has been very strong in the employment sector, ensuring that caregiving responsibilities could be used if you have paid sick leave. That was a bill that we got enacted into law before paid sick leave got was part of it. It kind of opened the door, but that's another one that if you have paid sick leave, you're allowed to use it for caregiving responsibilities, which is huge. A lot of people don't know that. We also
And
had,
yeah,
yeah,
those are the things that people need to know about, like even like you said about the tax, the caregiver tax thing that, there could be some tax
yeah.
benefit. I don't know. I'm not using the right
If
word,
we got it
benefit.
signed it, yeah, enacted into law, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, these are the things that if we don't pay attention to what's going on and keep our ear to the ground, we will never know about these things. And then it's going to make the navigating so much more difficult for everybody.
Yeah,
And, that was the point of having you come today to really share this stuff
yeah.
so that we could
Uh,
get,
here's
we can become knowledgeable.
So this is if you have family members in other states, I shared this in the chat. This is that overall study that you saw that the information on where Illinois is. It's a great state-specific finding, but caregiving is widespread. This is also available for everyone to take a look at. It's an abundance of information. You can see I
Mhm.
showed you the detail. There's a snapshot of Illinois, but we share this wide, and we encourage anyone that listens to us to also be able to share it because it's a great resource. I'm
Yeah.
going to do one more.
We actually, while you're doing that, we
Yep.
interviewed in January, I think it was. I interviewed somebody who is an out-of-state caregiver. So her mother's in Illinois,
Mhm.
and she lives in Alabama, and so she's doing this long distance caregiving.
Yeah.
She does have other siblings, but she's whenever she comes into town, it's consumed with doctor's appointments, trying to find transportation, making those doctors, so she is doing this long distance, and she didn't identify as a caregiver until we started pointing those things out to her and giving her resources from Illinois because she's not from Illinois, she doesn't live in
Yeah.
Illinois. So
Yeah.
this will be great to be able to point people from out of state to this site so that they can see what's happening in other states that their loved one may be in.
And this is something the ARP, depending on, again, we're only in so many communities to see what in-person events are going on. So I represent the
Hmm.
Peoria area. So if you have a loved one or if you are working with individuals and you're like, I want my mom or my dad to get out of the house and do things, ARP has a lot of events going on. They see either virtual or in person. So if you go to Peoria, and then I'm going to just do in person. I'll apply the filter. These are all of the events that we have going on that's in person. Like we have this dynamic cooking demonstrations that go on. We have Avatar, Wicked. Um, this is another
Love it.
cooking class. All of these are going on. You just got to sign up, and we actually have more legislative breakfast, smartphone. God, we have a lot going on. But
Yeah.
again, these are resources that are available. You just say, hey, why don't you go out and meet some people? Yeah, or I need a break. And then there's also virtual ones that you can be able to say the category as well. But a lot of great stuff that they can be able to have for if they want to exercise at home or just connect with folks. And again, these are free of charge, just available. And all you have to do is just kind of put in where you are. Now, it is challenge if we don't have there's only so many staff, so if we don't have events going on near you, but we definitely have plenty of virtual events that are going on.
I love the idea of being able to sit with my mom and do some exercise classes with her.
Yeah, it's great.
Making a date for doing that sort of stuff because then it would give us something to do together, besides just the doctor's appointments and just the
Yeah,
managing the
absolutely.
finances and those types of things. It would give us get us back to mother-daughter
Yeah,
type.
and that's, with Peoria, we do a lot of these cooking demonstration classes, and they're at the ICC, which is a community college. They're in their culinary school of arts, and you're actually in where it's like the professional kitchen, like where the mirrors are there, and it's a full-on kitchen. It's massive, and then you sit around, and then you get to watch it, and then you get to eat all the stuff that they make, and then you get the recipes. So it's a really great opportunity for caregivers to get out of the house and be able to take their loved one there that's handicap accessible. That's how why I'm very much a fan of the Peoria Riverfront Museum. It's an fully handicap accessible, comfortable environment that people can come in and out of. The movie's free. We give you free popcorn and soda. But again, it's able to get caregivers a break, get us connected to the community, and show that we're present. So,
Yeah.
another opportunity that's there. But I know everyone's all over, kind of all over the state. I'm going to stop share my screen. I guess the other things that I can talk about is that, when for this legislative session, we are engaging in conversations with assisted living, making sure there's protection clauses in there for individuals. We are supportive of the Prescription Drug Affordability Board, which would
Mhm.
set the upper payment limit for prescription drugs in the state of Illinois to help a little bit with that cost. We're engaging in making sure utilities aren't putting additional costs upon ratepayers when they have lobbyists or so many other administrative costs, not shoving that on to consumers to pay, to housing initiatives to ensure that there's ADUs, the middles, all of that, I call it the mother-in-law suites, or all of those type opportunities to be able to have the zoning, to fraud protection, gift card scams. So there's a team of us that are doing a wide range of bills, to making sure our voices are heard, the seniors' voice is heard, and the 50 plus. We're also engaged in bills with the Alzheimer's Association for biomarkers for Alzheimer's that cannot be used against you in discrimination for insurance or employment purposes, which is another great collaborative with our friends at Alzheimer's. We can go on and on, but we have a lot of bills that we're engaging in. Obviously, the Ombudsman's office, but no, we're big fans of them. I work with them all day. So again, a lot of resources. I see Jessica's on here. She's one of the smartest minds in the policy world. You guys are so lucky to have her.
Yes.
So yeah, she's great, and I've been fortunate to be able to work with the Ombudsman's office in Kelly for a very long time. And we actually, in COVID, we actually were one of the first to start doing videos and talking about stuff. So, especially
And
individual.
yeah, and I think that's what motivated Kelly to want to start these meetings because we started these meetings towards the end of COVID because Kelly
Yeah,
recognized the need to be able to bring people together throughout the state so we could
yeah,
feel supported with each other and be able to have timely topics that could make
yeah,
us feel more empowered and not just isolated and alone.
yeah.
So the information you have shared has been amazing. And I just want to, so you can become a member of AARP, like I am a member of AARP, but you don't have to be a member to utilize the
Oh,
services.
gosh, no, no, you don't have to. The resources online you can get. I think you may have to have a new username and password, but that's not member required. I feel like I have to have a username and password. I have so many. I just keep them on like a
Yeah.
post note, this ready for anyone to steal. But yeah, no, it's No, completely free, and our making sure our in-person events are available for folks as well as the virtual. And we represent all those that are 50 plus. I think something that was new that we started last year with area agencies on aging is the Illinois Legislative Caregiver Caucus. And it's something we're going to hopefully get some events going where it brings about lawmakers specifically for conversations about caregiving and education and resources. So it's a big undertaking, but again, we got some great partners in there showing up, having events, um, making sure that voice is heard. We day-to-day
Mhm.
work, there's a lot of noise, a lot of conversations, a lot of needs, a lot of wants, but there has to be a constant drumbeat of the voice of that caregiver because they're doing the work day in, day out. And when they crash, they're exhausted. And that's my responsibility as well as my colleagues to have that responsibility, to have that voice lifted and raised above the rest.
Yeah, because I think sometimes we just think it's about the person themselves that's aging, but the support mechanisms, it's really been identified that. And I think that's where we're doing better, um, as particularly in Illinois because of all the attention that we're putting towards that caregiver, because people can't navigate this on their own. It's difficult if you're aging to be able to, like my mother does not use a computer anymore. She did at one point, but it was always never her friend. So people will say, well, I'll email it to you. And she won't even get into her email anymore. So I'm the one who's doing all of that. Just spending time on the phone, having to get some tax documents back, because they want to email everything to you now. They don't want to send anything in paper anymore. And so that's navigating that whole path becomes really difficult if you don't have a person, and that's where this is so important that people can feel, because sometimes it can feel so overwhelming as a caregiver, but if you know that there is a support mechanism in place that you could go to get those questions answered, it can help you so much more be able to get from point A to point B than having to spin your wheels on that stationary bicycle as you're trying to figure out what you're supposed to do next.
Hmm.
Yeah. So from what I'm hearing, AARP really does this all. You could do anything from cooking classes to movies to getting discounts at restaurants with your card. That's the reason I guess why you would want a card, is you can get discounts at restaurants and some shopping and things like that. But then having the other educational opportunities and the legislation. Mom's calling me right now. Um, sorry, my mother is
No,
calling me right now.
no, no, no.
So, but that, there's just so many things that are out there that you've been able to share with us that we really do appreciate, because we don't know what we don't know. And if people don't share it with us, we're never going to learn about those things either. There was a question in the chat. There used to be a toll-free number for AARP advocacy. Is there a resource now? And if so, what is the contact number, please?
Well, I'm not going to send you to a dead end number. I guess the question is, when you put in there, is it for federal or state? I don't know if we have a toll-free. We have a toll-free number for membership. We have a toll-free number that will get you to our state operator, and then they can connect you with the individual. Um, but yes, let me find the toll-free
Yeah,
number.
Sherry, and if you want to unmute yourself, you can, to give more clarification to that if you would like.
Here it is.
She wants to.
Um,
She,
it,
yeah.
I had been a member for approximately 2 years. I can't remember. I think it was 23, 2.5. Anyway,
Mhm.
there was a wonderful advocacy number, and I was all excited. It was one of the reasons I signed up. And then shortly after, I tried it, and it was no longer active. But they did get an office for the state of Illinois in Chicago. That was lovely. But it's
Yeah.
still not able to provide that in-depth level of advocacy resources that I was seeking.
Yeah.
So if you were to put something together, I'm in a nursing home, so I can't use the travel and I don't need the insurance. So that kind of thing is my forte, I think.
No, absolutely. It's a great, very good point. Yeah. Thank you.
And Sherry, Stephen put into the chat as well that you can also call the Illinois Department on Aging Senior Helpline, and he put that into the chat for you, because they can also help point you in direction for some services for advocacy, and things like that. So that should be another
Just
resource.
so you know, I will try, but those lines typically are not answered. The whole time is usually an hour or more, and I can't do it.
Oh,
I have tried over the course of many years, and I think I only reached people once or twice, and by then it wasn't a good idea to have some assistance from them. So
yeah.
it's very, very difficult to get through there. There's a chance that an email might help. You obviously can't text, but they're just really backed up. I don't know if they're being kind to the people who call or what, but
Oh, I know because I had to make a federal call today and I was on hold, I think, for 3 hours. So I can't understand how that feels. There's also your local, if you live in a long-term care community, there is an ombudsman that does go to that particular home.
this,
And so the contact list, that was the very first link that Stephen put into the chat. So you might be able to, if you can click on that, that might be able to help you find the local ombudsman. And then you can also always reach out to me, Sherry, and
I
I can
know.
help point you in any direction.
I might have to, but just so that you're aware, it is
Yes.
extremely difficult by those published numbers to reach the ombudsmans as well. I've been in two different areas with two different ombudsmans, and if they, Sheila is wonderful. Sheila Fernandez is our ombudsman, but
Okay.
it is extremely difficult that to get the people who answer the phone to get the ombudsman to call you. I've tried, I waited, and it was
Yeah.
quite serious, and nothing.
Okay.
Miss Moriarty has been one of the only people to assist with that. So I know that they're backed up and all, and I don't know if better triage is needed or what have you, but they deliberately, in part, have aligned people to answer the calls because they get so very many and there's only one of them. So this is why I was seeking AARP's help, additionally in advocacy, and then you could play off one another. One could work on one little part of it and then say, well, I can't help anymore. And then AARP could pick up. And the two together
Mhm.
may do more than just the one.
Yeah. Yes, and and thank you for that. And that's important information for us always to hear. We're always looking for feedback from the people who utilize our services so that we can understand how we can do it better. So I do appreciate you sharing that with us. And Sherry, do reach out to me. You can reach out to me anytime, and I will make sure that we get this stuff connected better. We're always working on those types of things because we do have various regions throughout the state, so everyone has their own intake way of doing things. So sometimes we need to take a look and see if there's a better way of streamlining it for a particular region. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you. Um, so let me see. There was some other, I just did the guardianship information. Thank you, Lori, so much for sharing that with us. All that information that you shared, because guardianship is something that, again, confuses people.
Mm.
We find many times that people think a guardian is also a power of attorney, and that is not the same. Need to make sure that people understand those things, that a power of attorney and a guardian are two different things. And we also have done some um, meetings about that previously, so you can look on YouTube for that as well as at the AARP site. And then we're also going to be doing a joint training through the Ombudsman's Office with the Illinois Department of Public Health and our Advocacy and Guardianship Commission. We're going to be doing some training for the consumers, for the general public. That's going to be in June, and then for long-term care communities, we're going to be doing that in July. And there'll be like weekly programs where we'll be talking about various entities to help make sure that we are answering questions, guiding people in the right way, making sure that people are getting the correct information so they can feel that they understand what they're doing when they make these choices, when they're assigned guardians, which is not a choice typically, that somebody else is making a choice for you because you're not decisional at that given time. So those types of things. So I'm just wanting to just reiterate that and kind of give a little commercial for the future for this summer for that. Um, and then let me see. Um, I was thinking as well, Lori, because of all the legislation that you did share, that some of these things are just, I know we have our own legislation that we look at through the Department on Aging, more related towards aging services for more community-based as well as long-term care that community-based. But a lot of the things that you guys are doing are also supportive of other opportunities. And at some point, we might be seeing if you could come and join us when these things pass so you can tell us and make us aware of what it is. But I do know that Jessica will be doing the conversation for us in a couple of weeks for on April 14th, I believe the day is. Yes, on April 14th. And she'll be sharing how we can reach out to our legislators to help support the legislation that's going on in the state. So be looking for that, everybody. If anybody else has any questions, please do feel free to unmute your mic, put the information, put the question into the chat. Really would love to hear if anybody has any questions here. And sometimes I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the recording then. And sometimes people like to ask questions outside of being recorded. So I'm going to go ahead and just stop the recording now. But I just want to thank you publicly, Lori, for joining us today. Really, really do appreciate it. It was a wealth of information and it was really, really helpful. And with for all of us, and all of us really got a lot out of that. So thank you, Lori, for joining us today.